Good evening, and welcome to our annual NFL and fantasy football preview. As always, I'm your host, Kunal Singh, and I'm very excited to be here today, as this is one of my most favorite shows of the year. And I'll be joined on my right by Ethan Christensen and Neil Vishwanath, and on my left by Josh Bain and Joel Alma. So without further ado, I want to dive right into it because football season is very close. We start on September 10th in New England. It's going to be an amazing game. Hopefully Tom Brady's playing. And then the rest of the teams kick off on Sunday, September 13th. So with that, the big storyline's kind of heading in. As I said, Tom Brady, the Deflategate. Hopefully the suspension gets reduced to 0 games. I would greatly appreciate that. And so pretty much half the 49ers team is retired. And a lot of new players on a lot of new teams, like DeMarco Murray on the Eagles, Jimmy Graham on the Seahawks, and Adrian Peterson returning. I'm very excited and eager to see how those things turn out. And so let's just start it off division by division. Let's kind of slowly break it down. We can start with the AFC East, the Patriots, Tom Brady list for what we think to be 4 games. And the Jets getting very strong on defense. Miami, Bills, all improving. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the gap is definitely closed in the AFC East for sure. Darrelle Revis leaving the Patriots, going to the Jets. That'll be huge. And Ndamukong Suh going to the Dolphins, and McCoy going to the Bills. So the gap is definitely closing. I still think it's the Patriots' division to lose. I still think they're going to run away with it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Tom Brady is great, but you got to think of the other piece, Bill Belichick. And even without Tom Brady in that offense, I see Belichick at least, they're not going to lose more than 2 games there, even if he's suspended for all 4. But I got to say, like Ethan's saying, the Dolphins, they're slowly creeping in, slowly closing that gap, but it's still the Patriots division.
Yeah, I definitely think so. But like turning to a different question, we all think the Patriots are going to win the division.
Yeah.
And so who's kind of second in the division? I know a lot of people think the Jets have arguably the best defense in the league with Revis and a lot of good in the defensive line. But do you guys think Miami with Tannehill much improving, or the Jets are going to be a better second team?
In my opinion, I really see Miami being the better team.
With your boy Tannehill.
You know me, I love Tannehill. I think he can have a great season. Mike Wallace did leave, but Jarvis Landry and Noshawn Moreno will be back. So I think Miami is sort of putting all the pieces together on both on offense and defense. So
I agree.
Well, I agree with Josh, and you're going to see for the rest of the show that I'm big on Ryan Tannehill. And
as Josh was last year.
As Josh was last year, but hopefully with a little bit more luck.
Still big on
a little bit more luck.
Still big on this year.
I think that offensive line is a big question mark. They got destroyed by the Pats' defensive line last year, which wasn't great.
Yeah.
But I think they could potentially be a playoff team. I think they have the makings of a very good team.
Yeah, they're a solid wild card team. I think Tannehill is improving.
He's mediocre. I just don't know how high his ceiling is. Like I can't say in 5 years he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. You know?
But that's the thing. These type of players with Tannehill, like he has his fundamentals down. It's just a question of whether he's going to break out this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, if that happens with the Patriots, with Tom Brady potentially being suspended, this would be the time for that to occur.
I agree. Yeah, and the Jets don't even play New England Brady-less, so I definitely
McCoy is a question mark to even play the first game.
Injured.
So that's huge too.
And so now to the AFC North, which is a huge jumble. Always have a lot of playoff teams. I've seen a few articles on Bleacher Report that say the Ravens. A lot of people think the Ravens are going to make the Super Bowl, but then I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a better team because of their very strong offense. Even though Dick LeBeau retired, I really think they're a much better team. What do you guys thoughts on the North?
Yeah, no, I think it's the Steelers' vision to take. I like the Ravens. Still a little iffy on their offense, but I think that the Steelers have too many weapons to deny with Antonio Brown. When Le'Veon Bell comes back from his suspension,
offensively,
Big Ben's always solid.
I was always thinking Steelers, but lately I've seen a lot of potential in the Ravens, especially their running game, the 1-2 punch. You saw they take Forsett and they run him down the field with him, and then they get to the goal line, they just pound it in with Taliaferro.
Yeah.
Honestly, it works pretty well, and Flacco doesn't need to do too much. And they have Steve Smith, and they have a lot of weapons, so I see them having a good chance of winning this division.
Yeah, and Flacco experience, they're a very good postseason team.
Well, Ravens' secondary last year was the big question for him, and that's because they had a lot of guys out. So a lot of those secondary guys, their starting line secondaries, they're actually returning this year. So their secondary is going to improve. They're going to have a better overall defense. And then their offensive line is still a little questionable.
Yeah.
But I think their running game will be pretty good. But the receiving core, it's just not great.
Yeah, it's not.
I think that's
the rookie they drafted has been dropping. Perryman, dropping a lot of balls. I don't really like him too much coming out of college.
Yeah,
well, I think you guys are forgetting about the Cincinnati Bengals though, which are a really good team. They play in the AFC North. They made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I buy the Jeremy Hill hype. Honestly, I don't know.
Okay,
they're really good
wide receivers.
Pretty decent.
pretty good tight end, Tyler Everett. At least he was a first rounder, so he has the
Jeremy
potential.
Gresham.
They have good 1-2 punch running backs, very good defense. I think I can't be forgetting about the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, we can forget about the Browns because they're the Browns. But can't forget about the
Not much
Bengals.
there.
And now AFC South, I think Indy is
Oh yeah,
much,
no
much,
doubt.
okay, I don't even want to waste my time on that.
No.
Okay, it's such a joke of a division. And then the AFC West, it's pretty sure it's Denver for everyone.
Yeah, but
Denver.
like, I mean, Oakland is like, they're not going to be garbage
not
this
gonna be-
year.
they're not gonna
Oakland
win,
is,
though.
is coming out of their
Yeah, like
10, 15 years of misery.
I
Yeah.
think
As long as I can
Oakland. I think
remember.
Oakland can be better than the Chargers.
I
I don't think the Chargers are good at all.
still-
I would
I don't
disagree with that, but the thing is, I don't think either of them are playoff teams.
I still
don't
think they're going to be
either.
the worst team in their division, but I think they
I
could
think
win
so.
7
solid 6 and 10.
Seven games, I don't think
Seven's
so.
pretty difficult
Yeah.
playing Denver.
I
twice.
think the Chargers have some potential with Melvin Gordon.
Yeah,
though. Like, I'm going
dude,
to talk about
next
that later.
LT.
But exactly, like they were missing a really solid running back
Yeah.
last year.
Ryan
and that-
Matthews is
that
always
has
hurt.
a lot of
Yeah, but
Yeah.
their defense is only okay. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true, that's true.
Yeah, no, I really like their safety. He's Eric Weddle.
No, he's
really good.
He's really,
Yeah.
really good. Sweet beard. Okay, so now to the NFC. The East is just like the AFC North, in my opinion. It's just a huge jumble based on opinions on who you would take between Philly and the Cowboys.
You know, everyone's saying trust in Chip Kelly, but you know, I don't believe it
So
yet.
you don't trust the process in Philadelphia in general.
Yeah, well, I just don't understand all the players that they let go.
Sure.
You know, I just
Yeah.
don't. I don't,
I don't
really
think
get it.
Sam Bradford.
And just the way that Chip Kelly ran his offense in college, I would have thought that LaShawn McCoy would have been a better
yeah,
fit
he's so fast.
than DeMarco Murray. But you know, and Nick Foles for Sam Bradford didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, I can't really tell.
We all hope that Bradford's gonna be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
And he was so good in college.
So I'm gonna
was-
take
he
the
was
Cowboys even minus DeMarco Murray.
sure.
Yeah, kind of going off what he said, like every time they seem to like really get closer, the Eagles kind of like shoot themselves in the foot. They keep getting rid of their like solid core players.
Mexico
So,
Bird.
like, and so I mean, I see them having a lot of potential, but I don't think the year that they get the new star running back, new quarterback, they're going to really be able to compete with the Cowboys, who like their offensive line is amazing and like their defense is starting to step up. So I see the Cowboys. taking
Yeah,
this
I
one.
know, but a lot of people talk about it's like McCoy for Murray. It wasn't that. Like Kiko Alonso also, who's a very good young defender. So I definitely think that's a big thing, and they also upgraded it at the cornerback position. So then you can't really forget about them.
Yeah, no,
No, you can never count Chip Kelly.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to disagree. I see the Eagles actually.
I thought you were gonna say like the Giants or
Oh,
something.
no. I love Odell Beckham, but for the Eagles, I just see a lot of playmakers.
Yeah,
know?
I agree.
I see a lot. Of energy
Nelson
on the field.
Aguilar's a young kid who came
Yeah.
in. Also,
And you know, I think their receiving core is a little underrated, but
The receiving core is very young.
yeah,
yes,
very
they
fast.
are.
Very
They
young.
are
They're
very
fast,
young.
but
They
they're
can
young
book
and
it.
inexperienced. I don't.
Yeah.
They have a lot of energy, and I see a lot of potential in them.
Well, I actually like the Giants as a dark horse pick before JPP got injured. Before
Before he
JPP got
blew
injured.
his fingers
But now
off
he blew
with
his
a
fingers
firework.
off. So I'll agree with Josh with the Eagles on this one. Just because the Cowboys, I think DeMarco Murray was a really big part of their plan, and I don't think they can replace him. I understand they had a great offensive line.
Yeah, that.
But
Dude, Derek
he
McFadden.
was already
Honestly,
talented.
If that offensive line can protect
Yeah.
Murray like that, they could open up a lot of
That's
options
what
for
we'll see how good DeMarco
We'll
Murray
see.
truly was
Yeah.
when we see him
He
this
was
year.
already okay,
because
though.
that was a special
yeah,
offensive
but
line.
he was nowhere near as good as he was.
And he also
last
touched
year.
the ball like 400
Yeah.
times.
Exactly.
He got the ball.
And he
like,
only,
see.
he averaged
It'll
like,
be
Yeah, but he
interesting.
got the ball 400 times, which means he was a huge part of the offense to replace.
Yeah.
You know?
I think
Yeah, I
Derek
Especially to help out the defense if you're controlling the ball with the running game.
Was he doing that, or was the offensive
offensive
line
line.
doing that for
Well, I
him?
think it's the mix, but you can't just discount
yeah, but we don't know
DeMarco
how-
Murray
yeah,
and put in
exactly.
like
Obviously,
Darren McFadden, who's going to break down.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But also the Eagles
But
do
you
have
don't
good-
know that DeMarco Murray was an injury-prone player before last
You
season.
would see him running with
do.
these bolts on his arm.
You don't know
He's
how
always
good
hurt.
McFadden could be with that offensive line. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
I
the-
agree.
hey,
He'll have to
I'm
stay
the
healthy
first to
to
admit that
prove
Darren McFadden was a bust coming out.
Yeah, I
coming
mean,
out
but
of
if you
college.
have that kind of protection, it's a lot easier to stay healthy, you know?
Absolutely.
We'll
but
see, yeah.
We'll have to see.
Big
Yeah.
question mark.
Yeah, McFadden's gonna break the all-time NFL rushing. Yeah.
luck.
All right. And in the North, I think the Packers dominate. I absolutely
Yeah, no
agree.
doubt. No doubt.
And do
Yeah.
you think any other teams are even gonna go over 500? Saying the Vikings get AP back, the Lions are decent, and
Absolutely.
Also
I think I'm a big fan of the Vikings this year. I think Adrian Peterson's going to have a huge year. You guys will see that later on in my fantasy predictions. And I think Teddy Bridgewater's good.
Yeah,
and I think their defense, it's young. Okay, their defense is young. But I think
Their defense needs work. Their
Yeah,
defense needs work.
Their
Yeah.
defense was like league average last year, and they were all young. They're going to get better, I think, especially with a defensive-minded coach and Mike Zimmer, right?
Yeah. And North Turner, I believe, taking over the offense.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Something about me, like seeing him last year, I know Bridgewater's good. I just can't really trust him. You know, like every time it
You
seems
just
like,
can't trust him because your fantasy team had Vikings
Daryl
that were
yeah. I mean, he just failed to like reach my expectations every time. He set
he's
up
a
a good
rookie,
drive.
you
But
know?
no, I agree he has a lot of potential. But I see like the Lions being a better bet to come
Yeah, I
out rather
agree.
than the
I,
Vikings.
if I had to pick one team other than the Packers to be
yeah.
over 500, it's the Lions.
Yeah, the Bears are a mess. I don't
No,
wanna-
Bears
are
are.
a
I'll
mess.
go with the
Mm.
Vikings on that.
One thing,
Yeah.
I think Alshon Jeffrey is going to be huge this year. Without Brandon
I
Marshall
agree.
stealing
Yeah.
all of his targets, he's
Jay
gonna be
Cutler
huge.
loves just
In
throwing
yeah.
it deep.
That's
Yeah,
the
to
only
the
thing
line.
he can
Yeah.
do. He can't do anything
And that's
else.
why he throws like 30
Yeah,
interceptions
yeah.
a
Yeah.
year. But also, I think a lot of people said Cordell Patterson was going to be good last year before Adrian Peterson beat his child, right? That's why. That's why Matthew Baird was so high on him. And then in the South, it's such a mess also. It's such a mess. I don't know if any team will go over 500.
I mean, is it even worth talking about?
I think
look-
it is because
They get
it's an
automatic
exciting
bid.
prediction.
Awful.
It's an exciting prediction.
I mean, like, I'm gonna take the Panthers by default just because they won it last year. I think the Bucks could actually.
but the one
I'm
receiver that
surprised.
Cam Newton has just tore his
Calvin-
ACL
yeah,
like 2
yeah,
rounds.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't think
You're like basically
maybe
saying-
Atlanta could go over 500.
Yeah,
I'll go with
maybe-
Atlanta. I think Atlanta.
Okay, Roddy White's getting kind of old. I see Julio Jones really like stepping up. He's already a great receiver, but if he can stay healthy the whole season, I see
agree.
something special.
He's
there.
just
I mean, I think Atlanta's still going to be bad, but I think they're going to be the best of the worst.
I think Julio's actually gonna have a pretty big season, a lot bigger than his past years.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think Matty Ice and company, he's going to lead that team to a solid 8-8 season, being generous there.
Yeah.
And then with the West, oh god,
Ew.
the Niners are
Ew.
awful.
I mean,
I don't think it's even a race.
it's not. I mean, it's not much of a race, but I think Arizona's
Carson
given
Palmer's
Seattle.
gonna be good.
Arizona's
Yeah.
given Seattle trouble in the past. Like
So is St. Louis. It's surprising.
it's-
Yeah.
teams. in
wait,
the-
so do you think Arizona's going to win the division?
No,
Oh,
no way. But I'm saying like, if there was a team that could challenge, like they got off to a red hot start last year.
Yeah.
Like,
They're like, what, 9-0, right?
they went like 9. They were like 10-1.
10-1,
Like
10-1.
they were like, they were
Yeah,
competing
but
for the
who was
division.
their quarterback?
Carson Palmer.
Carson Palmer,
No,
he's
but he
good.
tore,
Yeah.
he tore his ACL.
Okay, but
Yeah, but now he's back.
He's
Yeah.
back.
back
That's
now.
the thing.
I still think Seattle's gonna take the division.
Yeah, but I don't
Then-
think, yeah.
There's not that much question with that, but I mean, in terms of the Niners, one thing I really see happening this year is they're not going to win the division. I hope they go 500, but I think this is going to be a really
Oh, that's-
special year for
500?
That's it. That's really,
that's 8
really
wins.
ambitious.
I believe in that.
They're
Mark.
so bad.
I think the Niners are
I
absolutely
believe in that,
terrible.
Mark.
Pretty sure they have like
But Colin,
10
okay, this
people
is
on
the
the
first
roster.
year where the offense has to truly step up because like who's even on our defense anymore?
I
Let's
don't
be
think that's a
honest.
I
good
don't
thing
even think
because
No, I
that's
know.
Colin
I don't think that's a
Kaepernick
good
and-
thing. I don't think that's a good thing, but I think that's going to really give Colin Kaepernick a chance to step up and see if he can actually do something. Because right now,
He
it's
has
just-
to.
If Colin Kaepernick can learn his own offense, then
If he doesn't have to call a
yeah,
timeout every other
Yeah,
play, like,
I don't
we
think
could
he
easily go
can do
500.
it.
Dude, if
Yeah.
he doesn't walk up to the line and say kill, kill, kill with 3 seconds on the clock,
Yeah.
maybe they'll scrap out 5 wins, okay? That's being awesome.
That
awesome
would be an
idea.
optimistic.
I think 500. I think
No, not even close to 500.
they have so
I
many
think.
playmakers on their offense. That's the thing.
Well, I think
Who's the playmakers on their offensive end?
Torrey Smith.
Vernon Davis is a
Torrey
They
freak.
signed Torrey
Vernon
Smith.
Davis, if he actually
Bolden.
plays this year instead of like last year where he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Torrey Smith he's okay as a deep threat. He's pretty good as a deep threat, but that's,
that's it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Nothing
definitely
else.
Seahawks. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's
Oh, easily.
potentially like 14 wins. Their home is such a fortress.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
and
that's
so now we're going to go do a little bit of rapid fire. A lot of people love that. So let's go rapid fire with the NFL. Who do you think's your NFL MVP?
My NFL MVP, I've got Andrew Luck,
The young gunner.
the young gun.
I love Aaron Rodgers. Their
Aaron
offense is
Rodgers.
so hot.
JJ Watt.
Ooh,
I like it.
defensive player.
I'll go Andrew Luck again.
I got Aaron Rodgers, so that's a little 2-2 split
Yeah.
there. J.J. Watt, he's such a man.
It was stolen from him last year.
Yeah,
so-
I agree.
sure. And then NFL Rookie of the Year.
I went back and forth between Mariota and Cooper. I'm gonna say Amari Cooper.
We go with a little bold pick. I think Jameis Winston's going to lead the Bucs offense.
Yeah, I
Big.
definitely don't think so.
I'm actually looking at Todd Gurley.
Ooh, for the Rams,
Ooh.
and that even though they got a committee action going.
Yeah, but I think Todd Gurley can
He's
throw
That's
That's
runs.
a boomer
right.
bust
I
pick.
see. I see a lot of talent in
Yeah.
him.
He's got a lot of talent, but I'm gonna go for Amari Cooper. I think it's the real deal.
Yeah,
wide
definitely,
receiver.
dude. His routes are.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
definitely,
receiver.
dude, his routes are.
Dude, his routes are.
Yeah,
When he steps on the
amazing.
field, it
Young
looks like he's the
Reggie
best
Wayne.
player
Yeah,
already.
I think so. I agree with
There's
you.
no competition.
No, I think Latavius Murray. No, yeah, I also go Amari Cooper, but none of us said Melvin Gordon. He's actually, I think he's
Yeah.
going to be a decent player.
he
in San
fits
Diego.
perfectly with the Chargers, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in San Diego. And then as your NFC champion,
Got the Seahawks if they have home field advantage.
sure. And if they don't,
Then the Pack. I think it's whoever has home field advantage.
That's
I'd give
so
the
big.
Seahawks the edge because they got Jimmy Graham.
yeah.
I got to go with the Packers. I think they'll have home field advantage, and that'll take them.
I'm saying Seahawks.
I'm gonna go Packers. I don't think Jimmy Graham in the playoffs.
And as far as home
great.
field advantage goes, I definitely think the Packers, because they say play in such a bad division,
I think that'd
and
be
that
easier
won't
schedule.
give them. They'll go 6-0 in their division. So I'm gonna go with the Pack as well. And also, if you think about it, they were in Century Linkfield. And they absolutely just boasted,
Yeah.
fumbled it. They should have
That
had
was
that
so
game.
bad.
It should have
Oh,
been
they
Patriots
should've
and
won.
Packers. That was so sad. And then the AFC champion
I went back and forth. I think
between.
the Colts and the Patriots. I think if Brady gets suspended and New England can't keep up with the Colts and they can't get home field advantage, I think Indy will take it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, similarly, the Colts are not going to win in Foxborough, but if they can have home field advantage, and they have a really weak division
Yeah,
as well,
6-0. It's another 6-0.
I think that they can come out of the AFC.
Yeah, I gotta go Indy. It's a passing league, and they'll have their quarterback for 16 games because he doesn't deflate footballs either.
I agree. Andrew Luck's gonna have a really special season.
Sure.
I'm gonna go Patriots here. I mean, if you get Brady, if Brady misses any games, if he doesn't miss any games, irrelevant. I think just because he's gonna come back mad no matter what happens.
Yeah.
And if Brady's mad and he's arguably the greatest quarterback of all time with Joe Montana, if he's mad, then I don't want to bet against
This
him.
is the math. This
True.
is the argument he gets into with math classes, like
Yeah.
every day.
not
And
even
guys,
man.
guys, but what about Garoppolo? Come on.
Garoppolo,
Yeah,
I'm pretty
don't
sure.
hate.
has
Don't
a
hate.
pencil.
He
I'm
got
not.
it,
I'm not
yeah.
hating. I'm
I'm
saying.
pretty sure in Italian, Garoppolo means the next Tom Brady. I mean, I'm not sure. I gotta check up on that. And then Super Bowl prediction.
I got the Seahawks.
I got to go with the Packers.
I gotta go with the Packers.
I'm saying Colts.
I had the Packers and I changed it to the Patriots once I thought about how mad Tom Brady's gonna be.
Look, so we can
Now,
all.
that anger will wear off eventually. Come on, man.
No way.
No, it's been there for like what?
He still has that
15
chip. He
years?
still has
Yeah.
that chip
See,
from
we
being
can
picked
all-
199. He
we
still
can-
has that chip.
We can all laugh at him, but like last year, we also laughed at him, and he correctly predicted the Super Bowl and the correct winner.
Yeah.
So I think it's that. But then
right.
another thing I want to
I
touch
mean,
on
if you go with
quickly.
the Patriots every year, then
Ah,
you're
yeah,
going to be right
you
somehow.
have to
You're
be
gonna-
right.
You know what? It's good.
Yeah, since the Belichick era, you're gonna be right.
you're-
Like,
yeah.
yeah, you're gonna be right a lot of the
Yeah.
time. Like 4 out of 17 years, that's
Yeah.
a solid 25%. So now with that, I think our favorite part is coming up: the fantasy football, our little fantasy football preview. So just last year, I believe these two both made the playoffs. Us three did not make the playoffs.
Nope.
Yeah, that was pretty sad, honestly. And JD, the kid who always thinks he knows the most, he came dead last. Which was pretty funny.
First
So-
to worst. Okay.
yeah, so I hope
First
hope all you guys just realize how JD is just not very good at fantasy, and it was such a fluke. Okay, and so draft advice based off the people available to draft this year. There's no really number one pick, so how would you go about drafting in fantasy?
Well, I think looking at this year, there's no like clear number one overall pick. I think if there's a year to be 4 or 5 in a fantasy football draft,
I
this
agree.
is it.
Yeah.
This is totally it.
'Cause 4 or 5, the
because
player-
there are 4
the
or
player's
5
just gonna
running
fall to
backs.
your lap.
Exactly. There are 4 or 5 running backs that, could be your number one running back by far, And, another piece of advice I would give is don't reach for like Antonio Brown at 4 or 3 or anything like that.
Unless you're in like in a PPR league.
Oh,
to
Okay,
point
PPR
of
league,
interception.
PPR league, I'm
He's like he
a
could go
monster.
number one. Like
Yeah.
honestly,
Okay.
he gets at least 5 catches every game.
I'd say my advice would be patient on the running backs in the first round.
Sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Honestly, with whatever pick you get, like you can honestly make it work. If you get a later first round pick, you can take like an Aaron Rodgers or you can take a Rob Gronkowski. But if you get a
Because
top
they
pick-
dominate their
yeah,
position.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then the flip in the second round, you could take a top tier running back, not the top 5, but like a Matt Forte potentially or a DeMarco Murray. So honestly, anything works here. It's all about just taking the best player on the board. Don't just say I have to get a running back
Yeah.
the first round.
Yeah, sure.
I agree. I think in this year you have to be very patient with quarterbacks. we're seeing more and more that it's a pass-heavy league.
Yeah.
So
I-
many good quarterbacks.
I agree.
Yet the quarterbacks continue to drop down the draft.
Yeah,
boards.
dude,
It's
Matthew
not-
Stafford's going like really late.
guys, that's why the quarterbacks are dropping, because when it turns into a pass-heavy league, there's more passers. So where there's 5 top-tier running backs, there's easily 12 top-tier quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's like Aaron Rodgers is a lot better than them.
But then, like the 5 running backs, you have to get them in the first
Yeah.
round.
Yeah.
And everyone's gonna be really bad besides that.
Well, I think, I agree with everybody. You can't stick to tradition, running back, wide receiver, running back. You can't be doing that here. I think, especially if you're in the later part of the first round, early part of the second round, you have to be more creative and try and get advantages here. I think the third round is really crucial if you don't take a running back or wide receiver to really nail that pick. So you need to get a number 1 RB or wide receiver if you go creative in the beginning.
Yeah, I think like if you really think about it and look at all the people and all the value, you have to get 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers in the first 4 rounds.
yeah.
Unless you have a name like Gronkowski or Rodgers, I
Yeah.
think you definitely need to. And for me, I think there are only like 6 running backs that I would take in the first round, and then besides that, it would go to the second
See,
tier.
that's a lot. Though.
Honestly,
I mean,
yeah,
like in
that-
years
that is
past,
a lot.
They should
there
go
would be
1
like
through 6.
3 running backs.
Yeah.
Like,
But like if you think about it, you can go totally unorthodox. You can go like Gronkowski, then Rodgers, then sometimes Calvin Johnson in the 3rd round, and you
Yeah.
didn't even take a quarterback the first 3 rounds. But
Yeah.
you have 3 studs.
Yeah, say
there.
you get
Exactly.
the 8th, you get the 8th pick, you can get Gronk, and then you can get Rodgers and get Calvin Johnson
Yeah.
at 20.
When you get like Melvin Gordon and he has a good year, turns into RB1,
Exactly.
you're set. You're going to run away with the league.
I don't trust the
I'm just saying.
You don't want
I'm
him as your
saying.
starter, but exactly. Like that's how
Exactly.
you can easily
Exactly.
win the league that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I
So
definitely
many
don't.
different ways
I
to
think like the middle top tier who people think Mark Ingram and Jeremy Hill. I don't think you draft any of those guys. I think you can go running back, wide receiver, and then get one of the later running backs like a Lamar Miller or Carlos Hyde who are guaranteed a lot of touches.
Yeah, I don't like Matthew Berry, but one of the things I love that he says is if you're not going to take the top players, then there's no
Yeah.
point in waiting for that middle tier. You might as well
Yeah,
get a top player in a different position and then
get
later in the
crappy.
draft get
Yeah.
like one of the
Yeah.
well, like the 10th ranked like running back or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
yeah.
I would think whatever you do, like don't take like a DeMarco Murray at 10
Yeah.
when you have a Gronk or a Des Bryant
Yeah,
on the
because
board.
no one is going to be close to what Gronk
Absolutely
does.
not, yeah.
Not even Jimmy Graham in
No,
Seattle.
not
Yeah.
even close.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
in Seattle.
Yeah, and any other really key strategies you guys want to give as tips or?
I think you gotta get a good idea of who to take before
Sure.
going into the draft. You can't just start winging it at the draft day because of so many like different guys going to different positions. You won't be able to just go off like the ESPN rankings or anything
Sure,
like that.
yeah.
Have good luck.
Yeah.
Let's just be
Yeah.
real. Have good luck.
Fantasy's very high percentage.
It's just
of
playing the probabilities,
Yeah.
honestly.
And also, I think a strong thing to avoid is injured players and players with such a high workload. Like, I know you think
Okay, yeah.
DeMarco Murray, right?
Yeah, 395 carries. Okay, it's shown that if a player tops 375 carries as running back, 75% of the time there's a significant decrease
Wow.
in his numbers.
Someone took AP
yeah,
statistics.
There we go. And in the next year, and honestly, different team, different system.
Yeah, I
He's
agree.
injury prone, not the same offensive line. I don't see him being the same player.
There's a little
Agreed, yeah.
regression to the mean
Yeah,
for the
there we
players
go.
who touch the ball. like, what-
Statistically significant.
Yeah,
difference.
absolutely. Yeah, I say stay away from the heavy workload. See, even Antonio Brown every year, he scares me even though he's so good.
Same with
'cause-
Marshawn Lynch.
yeah,
I'm really
catching-
scared.
yeah.
just
I'm
'cause
really scared of
I'm
Marshawn.
really scared
Marshawn
of
Lynch
Marshawn
gets
Lynch.
bangs
Also,
like every
yeah.
single.
I'm worried. That's why I kind of don't want to take
his
him.
Turbin, the second person on the depth chart. I had Lynch last year on my fantasy team, and whenever I watch the Seahawks games, like slowly he's been getting more and more touches.
Yeah,
And I don't know
right.
when it's going to become a 50-50
Yeah.
timeshare. Probably not this season.
No, I don't
Keep
think
in
so.
mind, Marshawn Lynch threatened or
Yeah, to
considered
hold out
retirement.
multiple
Yeah,
times.
exactly.
Or you know,
So
you
you don't
consider
know.
retirement
Yeah.
like this
He's
past
such like a whack guy. Like you really never know. Like he could retire.
He
like
doesn't
right,
even talk to
yeah,
us,
right,
honestly.
right
He
before
hangs
your
out with
championship.
Taco on the league, so that's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
and he hangs out with like Draymond Green in
Yeah.
their little championship parade. So while we're on names to avoid, do you guys have anyone else like specifically to avoid?
LaShawn McCoy, I think. Bills have a terrible offensive line, and he's going to a division where Pats, Dolphins, and Jets have
Such
just absolutely
good
amazing
defenses.
defensive
Yeah.
lines.
I think it's hard drafting AFC East players this year.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with Joao. I'd say kind of avoid some of the high-speed positional players that are going to be going up against some AFC East teams because, you know, not just the defenses, but the coaches and the teams themselves know how to match up well against players like that.
Yeah,
I agree, yeah.
Sure.
One more name is Brandon Marshall.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't
Who's
see
gonna- dude,
the
who's the-
Jets.
Who's throwing
He's
the
been
ball?
tearing it up.
I don't see the Jets scoring many touchdowns.
Who's in a quarterback? Then Matt Sims.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, you know, because Geno
Geno
Smith,
Smith,
whatever. Oh yeah, he got punched in the face by
Punched
the
in the
teammate.
face.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. And honestly, one other on the subject quarterbacks, I don't like Drew Brees this year, honestly.
He's
Oh,
known the
no,
first.
okay.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
good. No,
Brees
but
has no
people
one
are gonna
to
take him still like the third
'Cause he's
round.
a
No, nobody.
Brees is- maybe
Anybody
even the
taking him in the third round.
But like,
terrible
but
idea.
honestly, like if you're not gonna take Rodgers or Luck, there's no point, or maybe potentially Manning. But like,
But even then, yeah.
that, like I don't know. You gotta wait till later for like the Matthew Staffords
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Joe
Yeah,
Flacco.
I agree,
absolutely,
yeah.
Because there's gonna be a minimal drop in numbers, but there's such a big difference.
Yeah,
in
I
rounds.
agree.
Yeah.
And like, do you guys really like and highly recommend any players?
Oh yeah. Well, Tannehill. I was talking about the Dolphins earlier.
He's one you can wait for, get 7th round.
Exactly, and he's a guy that I could see sneaking up, 5, 6, 7 around there as a quarterback. He's going like 11th or something like that. So he's he can move up. He's got some rushing stats. He got a lot of talented players on his offense around him. So I think
Yeah,
he
I
can
say
take a big
along with
step.
Tannehill, I think
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford also still,
Yeah, I agree.
still,
Yeah,
yeah,
still a very
definitely.
good player. Yeah.
I think that Matt Ryan could have a pretty good year
Yeah.
this year.
Him and Julio, if that's a deadly one.
That's-
Yeah,
Yeah.
if
If
the
you can get
Falcons
that.
are healthy, Matt Ryan can be a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah.
And if we're looking in like really deep leagues, LeGarrette Blount could have a good year this
Absolutely,
year too.
I
Like,
completely agree with that.
I think that
He's been looking
proven
great
he
in
can-
training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that especially if you take DeMarco Murray, and even if you don't, one of the hugest handcuffs and individual sleepers in the league is Ryan Matthews. He's
definitely.
going
Definitely.
late 10th round right now,
Yeah.
guys. Okay. But if DeMarco Murray gets injured, okay, he could easily be a top 10 back. And
Oh,
even if
absolutely.
DeMarco Murray's not injured, like there could be a significant like timeshare there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like for a lot of people, just in general, you gotta look at the teams where they don't have targets. Like a problem with drafting Antonio Brown is that Ben Roethlisberger also has like 3 other receivers
Yeah.
along with Le'Veon Bell
Martavis Bryant.
to throw
Yeah.
to. Yeah, and Marcus Wheaton.
Yeah.
They're all those 3. They can all catch
Yeah.
the ball. And so you
loving
look at
Julio.
and,
And
if you-
Le'Veon Bell gets a bunch of catches
and I
also.
think a good
Yeah.
risk in the late round would be to draft a player that plays for the Carolina Panthers.
Fair
Is
enough,
because Cam Newton has no one to throw to.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
there
absolutely.
there
I
could
agree.
be some young receivers.
Greg Olsen, I think. I mean, he had
yeah,
a great season
yeah.
last year, and I wasn't that big on him again this year because I thought they might evolve a little bit on offense. But without Kelvin Benjamin, he's gonna have to check down every single play.
Yeah.
He's gonna get all of the red zone touch.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
looks.
absolutely.
The
And
same, I think
yeah.
Martellus Bennett and Alshon Jeffrey, those 2 are going to be
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Jeffrey's
They're
gonna
gonna
be
get so many
huge
targets.
Step up
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, they're going to get so many targets. And like one of the
But
last
Jeffrey's
things.
also going to be getting all the attention from the defense,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And so one of the last things I want to talk about, we've kind of covered if you get a late first round pick and if you get a middle one. So just really quickly, if you have 1, 2, or 3, what's your order?
I'm taking Jamal Charles, Adrian Peterson, and Marshawn Lynch.
I go Jamal Charles, Adrian Peterson, but then I gotta go Le'Veon Bell.
I go Peterson, Charles, Bell. I think all of us would take Bell first, but he's suspended
Yeah.
for the first 2 games of the season.
I'm going to go AP Charles and then Forte.
I'm gonna go AP Lacey and then Bell.
So
I don't
AP,
know. I just can't do Eddie Lacy.
I don't trust Eddie Lacy.
I like
I-
Eddie Lacy. I think he
I
has the
respect
highest
that.
floor out of any
Okay.
running back,
He
other than
could
maybe
still-
Le'Veon Bell. But
but
you
also
know,
I can't
Aaron
trust
Rodgers
him.
throws the ball for that team.
Oh, yeah, he
so?
throws the ball so much.
absurd.
it's the same thing like Nosal Moreno was like a top 5 back 2 years ago, and he had Peyton Manning throwing a record amount of passes.
All right,
You know?
you know what? Look, I think you guys should trust our advice. Don't trust
Yeah.
the ESPN rankings.
No.
They're absolutely
They're
awful.
They're awful.
So I
They're
think you
awful.
trust our
Serious.
rankings, trust our sleepers, trust our bus, trust everything. I think we're smarter than anyone on ESPN. Thank you guys for watching.